All right. Good evening, everyone. Today we are very fortunate to have Mr. Steve Georganas. He's an MP, he's a member of Parliament from Adelaide to the Australian Federal Parliament. Good evening, Steve. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure to be joining you to discuss many important issues.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Steve. I will the people who have joined us, they're from interstate. I'm sure pretty much every single person from Adelaide would know you, or even South Australia. But the people who are there from interstate or overseas, I would like to give you a small introduction about yourself and your work till now. So, Honorable Mr. Steve Georganas is an MP from previously it was from Hyde Marsh. He was elected from South Australia in 2004. Since then, he was an active politician in South Australia. Steve's top priority has been to secure an order for 12 locally manufactured submarines, and he will fight hard for working families by ensuring there is an access to quality education, healthcare services. Steve served on a different parliamentary positions such as member of speaker and panel from 2008 to 2012. Then he's a second deputy speaker from 2012 to 2013, and now he is a member of speaker panel from 2013 till today. He's also involved in numerous community organizations, including as a president of his local Lions Club and as a board member for Adelaide Greek Glendi Festival. So whatever I could, this is your whatever work you have done so far has been really great, Steve. So I cannot fit in everything, but we really appreciate the efforts you have taken so far in South Australia's politics and in federal politics. So once again, thank you so much for giving your time. Now, I would like to ask you questions to you, which are pretty much related to our day-to-day life right now. As you are sitting from your home, I believe, or you're in Canberra right now?
In Adelaide on Sunday night.
Okay, all right. So as you know, COVID-19 is pretty much disrupted everything in Australia and worldwide. My question to you specifically is, as a representative from Adelaide and a member of Parliament in Federal Parliament, can you please tell us what sort of help you're offering to the Australians who are stuck overseas?
Well, my office has been contacted by many people, especially Australians who are stuck in India. We've been assisting them, liaising with the Federal Minister for Foreign Affairs, ensuring that they have all the contact numbers, and doing all that we can to put pressure on the government or to get the government to act to bring these people home. We know that the government's been very slow to move on this issue. We know there's been some charter flights being arranged recently, but we've been saying this for weeks. COVID-19 really became a big issue early March here in Australia, and we were being contacted by people as early March, right through March, and continuously. So we knew immediately that flights had to be arranged for people that perhaps, for whatever reason, couldn't use the commercial means to come here, because many airlines doubled and quadrupled their prices.
Yes.
There was mayhem with people wanting to get back home. Many were in regional parts of India that needed to get to Delhi and other centres to be able to get home. And we heard some incredible, shocking news of people charging exorbitant fees, for example, for transport from a regional area through to Delhi or to Mumbai or to areas where there was flights arranged. Now, the beginning, the government was saying, well, there's commercial flights and they should arrange to come home via commercial flights. That's okay if you can afford it and if you've got the money to pay the increased costs, and if you're near a regional area. Secondly, it would have been okay if there was lots of flights. There was hardly any flights to begin with. So I know that the High Commission in India, the Australian High Commission in India, in Delhi, so far has assisted over 3,500 people to leave, to come back to Australia. And we've seen just recently in the last couple of weeks some charter flights that have brought people back with coordination from the federal government. So this should have been done a lot earlier. We know there's still many people. We think up to about 3,000 to 4,000 people are still stuck in India that want to come back.
Yeah.
and more should be done for those people. Now, in comparison to the UK,
Hmm.
where they had something like about 17, 16 flights from India that brought people back to the UK. We've only had 5 or 6 flights at this point, and hopefully we'll keep on raising this with the Minister for Foreign Affairs to ensure that they do all that they can and to arrange flights to come back. Now, it's not rocket science when you do the numbers and work out 3,500 people. Our advice to those people is to register with the High Commission, the Australian High Commission in Delhi, as soon as possible and to liaise with them. And certainly we've been raising individual cases with the Foreign Affairs Minister. And I've got to say, in many cases, we were given good advice and managed to help some of those people come back. But we know there's still thousands that are stranded.
True, true. So, as I can imagine that the workload, as a member of parliament, your workload must have been increased numerously. I mean, we
Yes.
can't even imagine, because the number of people who are trying to get in touch with you to receive help or seek guidance is in thousands. So, how you guys are coping up with it? What are
Yeah.
the things what you are doing which is helping out people?
Yeah. Well, our workload has increased, but that's fine. That's what we're there for, to help and to assist people. I think we broke the records for emails to my office in one day. I think I had 280 Monday week ago for one day. And each and every one of them has to be read and
Yes,
responded to and prioritized as well. So you
true.
prioritize the ones that are in dire straits that need immediate help and are in urgent need of help,
Yeah,
down to the lesser ones that perhaps are just asking a question.
yeah,
So we've been dealing with these every day, mainly through email. Our office, due to COVID-19, has closed its doors, but we're still
yeah.
operating through email and phone calls. And if need be, we'll arrange to go out and visit people if the situation is safe. Of course, I've got a responsibility to my staff to keep them safe as well. But we've managed quite well in terms of following up the work, supporting people through emails, internet, and many, in fact, one-on-one Zoom meetings or FaceTime meetings with people as far away as India and Europe and all over the place. In fact, last week I spoke to someone in Torino in Italy,
Oh,
one
okay.
of our constituents that wants to get back as well.
Yeah, excellent.
So it's
Now,
a different way of working. It's a new way
yes.
of operating.
True, true. 21st century. Now, as you, of course, would know that there are so many universities in South Australia, or especially in Adelaide, where there are TAFE colleges, there are universities, students who basically stuck overseas, or students who are there. Due to this COVID-19, they pretty much lost their jobs. You
Yeah.
know, there is nothing which is working at this point of time. South Australia is way better, or even getting there when it comes to coming back to the reality and coming back to the business. But South Australia, Victoria, is taking a little bit of time due to the population and everything else. So how, what do you think, what advice would you like to give it to the students who are even stuck outside or already on shore in Australia, and what sort of help you guys are providing from your side?
Look, I think this is a very sad situation. There's been millions and millions of packages and policies that have been announced by the government for job seekers, for Centrelink, but unfortunately, overseas students have been exempted from all of the assistance and help. And I know because I get contacted every single day, not only by overseas students, but people who support overseas students as well. Now, Australia's income, I think education through overseas students is one of the third
Yes,
highest economic driver in this nation.
close to $4 billion.
If you take education away, you
True.
take education away, and the money that Australia makes from education, we would lose a third of our income, which is massive, in counted in millions of dollars. So therefore, I think we have a duty. We've been the opposition, the Labor Party, myself, and many others have been saying that the government must come up with a plan to assist these people. Now, many of these people did have part-time jobs. Some may still have a few hours, but the majority have lost their jobs and are now without work. So what we're doing is the ones that are in difficult situations, where we're connecting them and hooking them up with different agencies that can assist them in food, etc. Now I know we've got the rental announcements that were made where people can put a period where they pay no rent. But of course, at some stage, all those things are going to come back to fruition in terms of charging the correct amount that they've normally charged and maybe back pay as well. But we've asked the government to put a plan in place and some form of assistance for these people, because at some stage we will go back to normal. Yes. And Australia will need these people, not just in the terms of the economic income that we make out of overseas students, but also the relationship that we build with students who go on to become professionals in their countries. Those relationships and the ties they have to Australia become very strong, ensuring that the relationship building between nations strengthens. And you see this all over the world with people that have studied and received their degrees from Australian universities and higher tertiary institutions. So it's really important not to just cut them off, but to offer some form of assistance and to put a plan in place so those people who have found themselves in this situation through no fault of their own get some sort of assistance to be able to survive in this period. And we know that, at some stage we will come back to normal. Excellent. And things will go back to normal. Hopefully they'll be able to go back to their work and jobs, etc.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yes, and hopefully, as our Prime Minister has recently announced, till July we should be able to get back to our normal business, which we really hope. Now, from Labour Party or from your constituency, which is Adelaide, would you have any, as you've already mentioned, but are there any things which you think needs to be done to get it better or to make it like life? We need the life on track as soon as possible. I'm pretty sure each and every single person in Australia is basically trying to help the government as well, by not going out or by following the policies and procedures by each state. But what you think, what needs to be done more so that we will be back with bang?
Yeah. Look, first of all, I think Australia's done remarkably well, and Australians have to be congratulated. They took everything on board that came from the health advice about social distancing, ensuring that we stayed home, ensuring that we did everything that was advised of us to do. And I think, pay credit to the Australian public. We did very well with very few COVID cases compared to other parts of the world and very few deaths. Having said that, the economy has taken a massive hit. We've got nearly, predictions are over 1 million people will be unemployed. Predictions are that many of those small businesses that have shut their doors won't be opening their doors. We're hoping they'll be minimal. But what we do need is to ensure that we do everything that we can to support people, to get the business life going again, so the economy gets back on track as quickly as possible in a methodically planned way that does not jeopardize the health safety of the Australian public. It's really important that, yes, we want the economy to open, and we will assist the government and not be objectors to everything as you normally sometimes see in oppositions. We want to work with the government. We want to make sure that we can assist and do everything that we can to be part of the solution. Now, of course, if there's things that we think are wrong, we'll point them out to the government as well. As we did so in many cases. For example, job seekers was a plan and a policy that we asked the government to bring on board weeks and weeks before they brought it on board. We're pleased that they took our advice and did come on board with it. But one of the major things as well is these overseas students who are stranded here now with no income, bills to pay, and no prospect of perhaps going back to their work. We need to put a package in place, and we've been saying it to the government every week since COVID-19 has basically shut everyone down. So we certainly need those people to have support mechanisms, because again, if you get those support mechanisms, no matter how little or how much that money is, it'll go back into the economy.
True.
Being part of that package to get Australia back on track with its economic viability, and to go back on ensuring that we are in a good economical state. Because of course, without the economy, if we don't get it back on track, we fear that we will see many people suffering, ending on the unemployment lines. And the unemployment in this country has been the highest that it's ever been since the early 90s, and
Yeah.
even going further back to the Great Depression, which is very sad.
Yes.
But again, safety has to be the priority.
Yeah.
Safety has to be number one. And of course, the economy, but without jeopardizing the safety of the Australian public.
Yeah, true. Are you happy with the way South Australia as a state is going forward?
I think so. I think we've done quite well. We've done remarkably well when you have a look at the numbers of COVID-19 cases
Hmm.
and the deaths. But then again, as I said, the Australian public and the South Australian public have been exemplary in the way that they have taken the advice on board and ensured that we did everything that we were told to do, staying home, distancing ourselves from people, washing our hands, putting in place all the things that the Chief Medical Health Officer told us to do. Today I went out a little bit just for a walk, and there was quite a few people around. So I think we still have to be cautious.
Yeah.
We still have to ensure at the back of our minds all those safety precautions that we've been taking for the last 6 weeks are still there. And hopefully, if it continues down the track that we've currently continued with low numbers and perhaps no new numbers of COVID-19 cases, we may be able to open up by July, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. True. And to be honest with you, there is a slight light we all could pretty much see at the end of the tunnel.
Hopefully.
Everyone, we as an Australians are very happy, and we are very content, and we are very lucky to stay in a country which is way far ahead than any other European countries or even US for that matter. So again, on that basis as well, that as you said, Australians have done extremely well, and as even the Anthony Albanese or even Prime Minister said that we shouldn't be going back to square one where we've kind of
Yeah.
started, and we should be going forward in the right direction. So I'm glad to hear your views. Is there any message you would like to give it to our viewers, or the people who are kind of listening? Of course, they are from Adelaide, or they're from interstate as well. Is there anything as a last message you would like to give us, please?
I think that the main message is, as I said a bit earlier, it's great to open up. Let's do it stage by stage. Keep in the back of your minds all those safety precautions. Take care. And hopefully with no new cases or very few cases, we'll be able to go to stage 2 and then in July to stage 3, which will see us all open. But the main message is ensure that you take the steps that we have been advised to take by the Chief Health Medical Officers. It is so important. All those little things that seem very simple, washing your hands, social distancing, taking caution when you're walking around the place, staying 1.5 meters away, are so important. And we've done it. And if we continue to do it, we'll see the economy open up. We'll all be healthy, which is the number one priority. And number 3, life can go back to the way it was, hopefully.
Excellent. On this positive note, thank you so much, Steve. We really appreciate your time. I know as an MP, you have numerous kind of, things which you got to do on your plate, and you're an extremely busy person. Of course, the parliament is going on from tomorrow as well. So
From
thank you so
Tuesday.
much for your time. I really appreciate that. And from everyone from Aussizz Group, and on behalf of all the migrant community, and on the students as well, I would like to thank you once again. And we'll definitely be in touch, and we could hope that we will get there as soon as possible.
Thank you very much for having me on the program. It's been a real pleasure, and the honor is all mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.